welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Swallow the Leader, and with me today is my fellow pussycat, I'm not going to say swallow, and is my good friend Essie McPeter. Say hi!
Oh, don't worry, I'm not a swallow, I'm a yawner right now.
Dun, 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 dun. So as mentioned, this is Swallow the Leader, released on the 14th of October 1949. It had a Blue Ribbon reissue in the late 50s. It's the 570th in the series, and it's directed by Robert McKimson. You can find this short on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 4 DVD set. It's also in HD on HBO Max. Now, in case you haven't seen this one, as it is a copyrighted cartoon, it's a straightforward story. You have the migrating swallows returning to San Juan Capistrano, where a cat, possibly the supreme cat from an earlier short, similar design. In any case, he's waiting for them, and, well, you just have Cat versus the scout bird who's flown on ahead from the pack. As for the trivia, the title is a play on the children's game Follow the Leader. I have to mention that because these days a lot of kids are on their phones and not playing Follow the Leader, although they'll be probably following a lot of leaders on their phones. I don't know. They're following the phones. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it. There is an animated breakdown sheet for this one, and we know that the working title for this short was called A Swallow Swallows. Up to you whether you think this is better than the actual title. I'll let you guys let me know in the comments below which you think is better. Now, this is another case of the main theme being very appropriate for the short. Previously, we did Each Dawn I Crow, which had Some Sunday Morning as the theme. In this case, it's even more appropriate because the song is called When the Swallows Come Back to Capistrano. Written by Leon Rene, and this was recorded back in 1940 by the Ink Spots. It also had a lot of cover versions, and one of the more popular ones is by Pat Boone, but it's very appropriate. Hey, it's about the birds returning to Capistrano, and the song is literally about the birds returning to Capistrano, so there you go. And of course, one final small thing is that Sloppy Jose is a play on the famous bar Sloppy Joe's. So I thought it was a nice little touch.
What I wouldn't do to be there right now.
Instead of watching this short, perhaps, perhaps. But we'll get into why you don't care too much for this short in a moment. Now, we'll start with the positives, because I really like to try and be positive with these shorts. Now, first of all, I don't hate this short. I don't love it. I just kind of like it. So, I love this cat. I mean, say what you want about the short. The cat has a beautiful design, and of course, I just love the animation, especially all the backflips and how dedicated he is in the beginning.
Yeah, McKimson directed this one, or at least in terms of the animation direction, really well.
Exactly.
I'll give it that, but that's normal for McKimson at this point. He was great at just making the animation a big part of it.
Exactly right. But I do have a question for everyone in the comments. How does this cat's collar actually attach? It just is a really weird element of the design. I mean, it looks good, but the more you think about it, it's like, is this him wearing a suit over other... Anyway, no. You know what? I'm overthinking it.
He's a furry.
Here we go. He's a furry. I do love the backgrounds in this short. You have some beautiful, beautiful backgrounds in this short, and especially in the beginning. While I wouldn't say the beginning would rival Disney or anything, it still is so beautiful to look at, especially how the swallows are all realistic. But then, of course, the scout birds ends up going from realistic over to cartoonish. Kind of like, it kind of looks like Henry Hawk, really. Well, a silent Henry Hawk.
Yeah, I agree a lot on what you said about the backgrounds. It is a really beautiful looking short. One thing when I was rewatching this just barely that long ago was that I kept getting caught away in the backgrounds more than focusing on the action. And I would normally give a big benefit to the backgrounds, but if it were in any other setting for this case, it wouldn't have made the short any better. It's just too easy with where the location is. It's just too easy in my opinion. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it isn't too impressive in my opinion.
Yeah, because really, if the backgrounds overshadow the rest of the short, then that becomes a bit of a problem, because the background is supposed to be you know, it could be impressive, sure, but it needs to not also overpower everything else. But it's not the background painter's fault here. You know, he's just doing his job making these beautiful paintings. So
yeah, the funny story is I believe the guy who was doing the background designs at this point really didn't like McKimson's pressure of making the backgrounds as realistic as possible. And when he worked later, like the Patty Freeland and Hanna-Barbera, I believe, he really enjoyed going for that stylized stuff, I believe.
And I think, yeah, going stylized is probably the way to go. So that way you've got a nice background, but it doesn't overpower whatever happens in the cartoon. Now, I do also like how the setup is essentially nice and quick, and it's very straightforward too. There's no weird, complicated setup. It's just, hey, these birds are returning home and this cat wants to eat them. Simple. I like that. And because I find some of these shorts, especially of late, they have these weird, complicated setups, like in the upcoming Pepe Le Pew short of 1949. You know, that if you really look at that one has such a complicated setup. When I was trying to do a synopsis for it, it was like I was getting tongue-tied. That's how ridiculous it was. But here it's just, hey, the birds are returning. But I do like some of the gags. There are 3 that come to mind that I thought were pretty good. I mean, again, you may beg to differ, and people watching, you know, may beg to differ, but I like, first of all, the magnet gag. For me, the reason the magnet gag works is because of how it uses that rule where it starts off funny, then it stops being funny, but because it goes on for too long, it becomes funny again, and you get a nice little topper as well. So I thought that was pretty good. I mean, not crazy funny, but I enjoyed it. And of course, in contrast to that, you've got the gun on the ladder gag, which is very quick and effective. But my favorite gag so happens to be the stupidest one, and it's similar to how in Fast and Furious, how the Cody puts on the Superman costume. Why are they putting on a Superman costume? It's a costume. You can't fly with it on. It's so dumb. I admittedly laughed really loud. But what else can I say about this short? I mean, what's the reason you didn't like it? I mean, aside from the backgrounds.
It's just boring. It's just not something McKimson was able to do. I find some of the setups for the jokes earlier on just a bit sluggish and just setting them up. I always found that when gags have to show you something with a background to tell you what it is, just too slow. But in this case, it just doesn't work for me. It's just a misfire.
Yeah, it's not great. Like I said, I don't love it. I kind of like it. That's probably why I'm putting it. See, in terms of my score, I was going to give it 6 or 7 out of 10. Maybe leaning more towards 6.5 the more I think about it. And a lot of the score is to do with the beautiful backgrounds, which, yes, okay, maybe overpowers the rest of the cartoon. And I love the cat. I love the animation of this cat. But ultimately, it's forgettable. So you know what? 6.5 I think is probably more appropriate than 7, which I was originally going to give it. So what about you? What would you give it?
5.
Yeah, fair enough. I totally understand. You know, this is not one that I'm going to race back and watch again. And thankfully, though, this cat will end up coming back in cartoons like Early to Bed. So at least I get to see this wonderful design.
Yeah, Early to Bed's fantastic. It's much funnier. This cartoon was sorely missing that dog.
But I think that'll do for this one. I mean, let us know in the comments. I mean, do you agree? Do you think we're maybe too harsh in this one? You know, one of you might actually really love this short. Maybe you grew up with it. I don't know. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this one. And as always, until next time, take care.
That's all, folks.
Get a swallow! When the swallows come back, Capistrano, let it here, la da da da, la da da da.